Hi, and welcome to episode number 32 of the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast, the show where I talk to introverts who grow their business and make a difference. I'm Sarah Sanakuchi, and I'm thrilled that you're spending this time with me again today. And today I'm talking to Nicole Holland. Nicole is the lady behind the scenes at interviews.convert.com and the host of the fantastic new podcast, Get Guest Ready. She helps successful business owners and CEOs increase their visibility exponentially through podcast guesting so they can make a greater impact, influence, and income. Proud to have been named in the Huffington Post as one of the 50 must-follow women entrepreneurs in 2017 alongside female powerhouses including Marie Forleo, Danielle Laporte, Amy Porterfield, and Dory Clark, Nicole continues to inspire entrepreneurs all around the globe through her popular podcast, the Business Building Rockstar Show. Before our interview, I didn't really know Nicole, but at the end of our conversation, when I said we will meet again, I really meant it. I just had this feeling that we will meet again. And then something really incredible and a little bit crazy happened. And I will tell you all about it after our interview. But first, here's Nicole Holland. Hi, Nicole. How are you today?
I'm so good, Sarah. Thanks so much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for getting on my show. It was quite the coincidence because I posted in this Facebook group and I didn't expect much response, but because it's always tough to find these introverted online entrepreneurs. But you put up your hand, and I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, I'm so glad for the opportunity because I think that we don't really talk about being introvert that much. And it's surprised me that there are so many podcasters, especially, who are introverts. And it's like, people don't think it because they see my purple hair. They see, that I'm a public person and they think, oh, she's an extrovert. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if you only knew.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm sure the hair kind of gives people the wrong impression. I don't know why. Why would, purple hair mean that you're an extrovert? But it's just kind of one of these cliche ideas that we have. It's weird.
Yeah, for sure. I think because people think, I think people have the wrong concept of introverts and think, they're just reclusive and strange. And I am definitely reclusive. Like I could stay in my place with no human contact for weeks, if not for needing food. I like my hermit lifestyle, but I'm able to do things that that go outside of that, and the beauty is, I think the internet is just built for introverts. I mean, I think the people who made the biggest impact were introverts, and it was like, because you can do your business from the comfort of your home, not having other people to worry about their emotions and their feelings.
So true. And it's funny, my neighbor, whenever I'm outside gardening, my neighbor who's like in her 70s probably, she's always asking me, so are you okay? How are you doing? And so I'm like, yeah, the kids are growing up and business is good. And she's like, oh, the kids are big now, so you can almost go back and get a real job. I'm like, no way I'm going back and get a real job.
For me, it's like the neighbors, they're like, are you okay? Your car hasn't moved in weeks. We haven't seen you. Now that the weather's coming nice, it's okay. But in the winter, like...
Yeah, it's true.
I have to send out an SOS signal if something goes wrong.
Exactly. All right. So let's back up a little bit, and why don't you tell us a little bit about, your story and your introverted self and how you got to start doing what you're doing today.
Wow. Well, let's see how much time we have. I'm just kidding. So I'll start with just how I'm doing what I'm doing kind of evolved. But when I made the decision to leave my job, I was just miserable there. And I was ill. I was having health problems. I was unhappy. I had no relationships. I had become a hermit, but not because it felt good. It was because I felt so bad. And what I realized was that I had to create a situation for myself where my income did not depend on somebody else, of me jumping to somebody else's directive. And I also, because I wasn't feeling well, I wanted to be able to work from home. I wanted to be able to make up my own hours. I wanted to be able to work without showing up where, I've been treated for lupus now for a couple of years. But prior to that, the symptoms would manifest in different ways where, my skin would be all broken out and I'd have trouble breathing and have trouble walking. And I just felt like horrible and I looked horrible. And so I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to see other people. And so I found out that there's this way of building a business online. And I thought I need to figure this out fast. And so I started figuring it out fast and created an online platform. And from there, it's evolved many, many, many times just since the end of 2014. So I quit my job December 28th, 2014. So it's still fairly new, but I've reiterated many times. And so to the point that I'm at now, what I specialize in is helping people get booked on great podcasts like this, if it's a fit, right? So here I am, and it's a fit because I'm an entrepreneur. I've listened to your show. I love your energy. I love your message. I love your audience. I'm an introvert. And so I really focus on how do you get leverage? How do you get visibility by finding shows and hosts that there's great synergy with and becoming a guest and getting introduced to a new audience? And so I do that through a done-for-you service where I actually do the bookings for my clients. And then I also do done with you where I teach my clients and help them take those action steps that can be really scary. And so that's, it is so much fun. That's where my business has evolved to today. I also have an annual summit called the Business Building Rockstar Summit. That's every November. And so I support online entrepreneurs still in a general way with marketing strategy, but my big focus is podcast guesting.
Wow. Okay. Tell us more about the summit, because we just previously, before recording, talked about our common friend Jan Nilunga, and he's the creator of the Podcast Success Summit, I think it's called. So summits are just, in my opinion, and I'm sure you would agree, a great way to start an online business, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to know what it is that you're wanting to get out of it. When I started my business, I was a correctional officer. So I was coming from a very different space. I didn't have any relationships with people online. As I said, I didn't have any relationships at all because I was just so miserable. And so what I realized was I needed to get big time visibility really fast. And I wanted to do it by getting to know people that I respected and that were influencers, not because they were influencers, but because they already built something. And I recognized the value in giving value to people who already are successful, and also to people who were just like me searching for answers. And so I launched my business, my Business Building Rockstar brand, with the Business Building Rockstar Summit on November 1st, 2015. And it's perfect for an introvert. At least I saw it as perfect because what I was able to do was, from the comfort of my own home behind the computer, go out and figure out who I wanted to connect with, who I wanted to feature. And what that meant, if I was featuring somebody, was that I got to pick their brain. I mean, these are people who pay, who charge hundreds and thousands of dollars an hour to work with them, if you even can, because they're so selective about who they work with. And so here I had this opportunity to say, who do I want to get to know? Who do I want to get to know me? And what information do I wish I would have had before I started my business? And if it's not interesting to me, what would be, if it was somebody else who wasn't an introvert, for example, what would they be looking for? And so I started really paying attention and surveying and, watching Facebook and reading all these forums and stuff and doing my research quietly in the background. And then I was able to send out messages and start connecting with people without having a real conversation. right? So I was able to dialogue, and I was like, man, this is wonderful. I can do it on my time. I don't have to show my face. I don't have to speak to anybody. It's great. So there was that dialogue. Then once I got the people to say yes that I wanted to work with, then we had dialogue, right? Then we spoke on the phone, made sure it was a fit. And then it's great because for me, I just got to be really creative, and it's almost like a puzzle. You have the picture on the box that you want to create, and then you got to find all the pieces and see how they fit together. And in the end, you have this really amazing event. So it's definitely a lot of work. It doesn't have to be. I mean, you can do a smaller thing, but to the degree that I wanted to do it, I wanted to really launch my business and launch myself into this visible space with a summit, and it worked like a charm.
Wow. Yeah, and I think I totally agree with what you're saying, because it's you're kind of the leader, but you're having all these one-on-one conversations, and that's what we're really good at, building relationships one-on-one, and not standing there in front of 100 people and trying to impress them that way. Even though I've had quite a few introverts who are great speakers, and that's part of their career. But what you did is really creating these relationships one-on-one after you picked out who you want to have on that summit. So,
exactly. And then the beauty of that as well is I was able to create relationships with the viewers and the listeners one-on-one, even though it doesn't seem like that, right? But when you have a great conversation like we're doing here, you've got listeners all over the place that are tuning in, and we're in their ear. So even though it's a dialogue between you and me, they're with us in this experience. And so they feel like they're a part of this. They feel like they know you. They feel like they know me. And so that just makes it so much easier to take that next step with people, to where you don't, again, have to have a million conversations, but you can reach a million people, and they can feel very nurtured. They can feel like they know you. And then for the right people, you do take it to that point of having a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's talk. You already mentioned kind of what you do. So you offer these kind of done-for-you services. And then the other one was, so there was done for you and
done with you.
Done with you.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's more kind of the coaching, right?
Sort of. Yes and no. I mean, there's coaching involved for sure, but I'm very hands-on. I'm very focused on relationships. And what I find to be a turnoff in this online space, in this space in general, is that people are looking more and more to automating things. And I'm a huge proponent of automation of systems and things like that. But at the same time, I really believe that you have to do it with the intention of giving the other person an amazing experience. And so what turns me off is doing things and creating products and programs that are just static. I love the dynamic experience that I can give to and also get from working with people that it really is with. And so my done with you really encompasses coaching. So whether it's a one-on-one or a small group that I'm coaching around doing something and I'm helping them take action and things like that, or whether it's a larger group program where they're getting very specific action steps to get the gig, to get that interaction with the host and to get the booking and then do the booking. There's a huge element in everything I do of personal attention. And I know my clients, I know my students, every single one. It's one of those gifts I've always had, is being able to really connect with and remember people, even though there may be hundreds or thousands of people. I mean, I can remember the experience I've had with people from when I was 7 or 8 years old. And so that's a gift that I have. And I think it's really important to distinguish, for me, done with you, whether we're getting you booked on podcasts or coaching or what have you. It really is done with you. I'm in it with you.
Right. It's funny because the next question is about superpowers, introverted superpowers. So do you think having that, special memory, you think that's related to being an introvert, or is that just another
I think it's
special
just
gift you have?
I think it's just my gift. What's funny is I knew you were going to ask this. And so I think, oh, for sure, my superpower is building authentic relationships quickly. And I never really did think about until we were just talking about it a couple of seconds ago about how that memory of the experience, I didn't really think about that before as being a superpower, but I suppose it is. And I believe it goes along with the reason that people feel very connected and really to believe that it's a sincere relationship I'm building. That's something feedback I get all the time. And I always thought, well, how can it be insincere? Like, of course, if you're getting to know someone, of course you're curious about them. Of course you care because that's who I am. And I've come to learn that that's not exactly why everybody does it. Sometimes people try and get these connections with an agenda, with an ulterior motive, and it's never been me. And so I believe that's my superpower.
Yeah, I do think it's somehow related to being an introvert, also because we're usually really good listeners, and so rather than maybe talking too much, like sometimes extroverts, they're really good talkers, right? And we tend to listen more, and that's why the other person feels really strongly about this relationship because they really feel understood. Like I sometimes end up with people liking me a lot, and I don't necessarily even like them back. It's like, why does this person like me so much? And my husband always goes, well, you're a really good listener. You just make them feel understood. And I think that kind of goes, with what you're saying is like, yeah, well, you have this gift of building these deep relationships because also you're really listening and making the other person feel really important.
So true. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. All right. But we also have our challenges. So what would you say is your biggest challenge as an introvert?
I think it's the same. It's because I really value those deep relationships, and there's only so much time in the day, and it's not always easy for me to distinguish which relationships are two-sided and which are one-sided. I'm a bit naive. I'm getting better and better, but as I get more attention in this online space, I mean, I'm very proud of myself, and I'm very appreciative and grateful for everybody who has given me such wonderful feedback and who's been blowing me up and sharing about me and stuff. It's very humbling. And so I'm getting better at figuring out who really does want to have an authentic relationship with me and who's just trying to, use my platform or get me to mail for them or whatever. But because I really care about having all of these authentic and deep relationships, it sometimes fills up my calendar and becomes very overwhelming. Like when I have too many meetings and I have too many people to connect with and too many things to do, and I just and get stressed out, and it's all of my own making. So I would say that the interest in developing these deep relationships is both a gift and a curse.
It's so true. And it's funny because on my website, my freebie, my main freebie is a 4-step guide on how to say no. And, kind of what you said right now, you feel so much empathy for all these people. And so you're like, well, who do I say no to? Is this real, or do I have to say no to this? So I think it's not exactly the same, but it definitely, I've heard this before, that introverts are struggling with saying no because we want to, give value and we want to exchange, but sometimes we don't know, well, where do I have to draw the line and where do I say no? So
yeah, totally.
It's interesting you bring that up.
Absolutely. That's a very, very valuable resource because it's difficult to know when to say no and who to say no to.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that you should always say no, of course not, especially as you're building your business, I've probably said yes too many times as well, but you have to say yes in the beginning. You have to kind of get better at, evaluating opportunities. And yes, you'll probably, say yes to the wrong opportunities, but that's all part of the learning curve. But when you have what you say right now, you have this attention and you get more and more, requests for your time. Well, eventually you just have to learn how to say no in order to focus on the things that are important. So
exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Just want to mention the link, sarahsandacroce.com/say no if you don't have that guide yet. So
wonderful.
Great. Well, Nicole, take us to a moment in time of an incredible aha where you kind of realized something. Maybe it was that time that you quit your job or anything else that happened in your previous career or your business right now.
Well, thanks for asking. I think my life is just all ahas, I think constant pivots. And what I'd love to share is the most recent one, which really just came in the last days, within the last week. And it is exactly for what we were just speaking about, right? Because the better I get at recognizing who to say no to and what to say no to and what to say yes to, and, the more clear I'm getting, it's still always evolving. And when I started this iteration of my business of doing this podcast booking service, I had the plan to do 3 levels. So the done for you, like the high ticket, the done with you, mid-level, mid-ticket, and then the free, or actually, sorry, the low level and free. And what happened was my business took off like hotcakes before I even really launched it. I just shared about, to this day, I haven't done anything like spectacular to say, here's what I'm doing. It was really like, I made this decision and I emailed a few friends and I said, hey, that I'm going to start offering this as a service. People have been asking. And so I decided to do it. Do you know of anybody? Do you have any clients that it might be of value to? And like my inbox got full. And this is just some personal people. Like this isn't even my list. This was just some friends that I sent it to. So my done for you took off so fast and is very time consuming. And then at the same time, I had created a podcast called Get Guests Ready. To this day, it's still not done because I haven't had the chance to finish recording. But what I was doing was I was saying no to more one-on-one work. And I was trying to finish the free stuff, the podcast stuff. And then I was trying to create this done with you middle level. And one of my coaches said, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. And for me, it's very important to finish things, right? So I have to finish the podcast. I have to finish this because I promised it and blah, blah, blah. He said, but it's free. It may or may not ever turn into revenue. It probably will, but it's not giving you revenue right now. Whereas you're saying no to these people who want to pay you. And I'm like, whoa.
Duh.
Duh. So I still feel pretty terrible about the fact that my free stuff still isn't perfect and still isn't done. But I also try and say, it's okay. So what happened the other day, because I've been putting off the mid-level stuff, right? Because I've taken on so much of the high ticket stuff. And I thought, this mid-level stuff, I can do this to where it's not difficult and where people get huge value and where I can really enjoy it. I don't have to do it the way I had envisioned at the beginning. I can do it in a way that is easy and fun and fluid. And what if I just tried? What if I just said to my community, hey, does anybody want to try this? Does anyone want to do this with me and to validate it? And if they say yes and pay me, then I can do it. I'm like, I teach this stuff. I teach people how to pre-sell. Like, why have I been making it so difficult? And so that clarity, it's like, I think sometimes we have to slow down and listen to our own advice for ourselves, but we get so stuck in a story of how things have to be. At least I do sometimes, and I know my clients do, that we can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah. 2 things. Perfectionism comes to mind. And I think a lot of introverts also struggle with that because we want everything to be perfect. And so, why didn't you release it? Well, because it wasn't, perfect yet. So obviously we have to let go of that a little bit. And the other thing, always focus on paid stuff first. And it's so easy to forget. You're so right. Oh, but I have to write that blog post. Does it create money? And, maybe in the long term, but right now I have this
email that I can send out and that's going to make me, $200-300. Well, I'd rather send out that email. But yeah, I'm definitely always focus on what gets you paid instantly, and then still obviously develop other things for the long term. But yeah, good learning lesson there.
Thank you.
Let's talk. I always like to ask my guests about 3 golden nuggets. So the first one would be a personal habit, something that you do on a regular basis that you think contributes or has contributed to your success.
Yeah. So when I am most successful, it's because I'm in flow and I'm not listening to what people are telling me I should do. It's something I fall into so easily, even though I know better. Sometimes I get caught up in, especially when I'm tired or busy, I get caught up in other people's stories and advice. And when that happens, everything kind of comes to a standstill and I have challenges. And when I recognize it and I go, wait a minute, I got to get back to flow. And it sounds so woo-woo, but really as an introvert, I think this is something that may be common with other introverts. But the more I listen to the external messages, the more confused, overwhelmed, and stressed out I get, the more I tune out that noise and go within and just say, what would feel good to me right now, and do it. It's like it just leads me to the next aha or idea or good thing. Or like this morning, actually, I got an email from somebody who's an ideal client who I've been nurturing a relationship with for quite some time and who has been saying they want to work with me, but the timing wasn't right. So it's okay. And I just stay in the flow. And he wrote me an email this morning. He said, can we start booking me? I said, hell yeah. So I think the more we just allow, for me, the more I allow myself to just be in the moment, be really present, and just allow things to come in as they are meant to without trying to push, that's when I'm most successful.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we should all do that more often, but it's true that sometimes we kind of get off track because maybe sometimes our own chatter in our own head, but you're right, also external sources that kind of distract us. But flow is good. Yeah. What about an internet resource, some kind of tool or plugin or something that you use?
Yeah, my favorite and most relied upon tool, it's called Acuity Scheduling, and it's to manage my calendar and my client appointments, and it takes the payment and it sends out automated messages and all kinds of stuff. And I believe you use it too. Yeah. I am crazy about Acuity.
Yeah, I've done so much research about the best scheduling tool. And when I found this one, I'm like, God, thank you. This is the best. And I just love the intake form that makes, podcasting easier, but it also makes any kind of coaching easier because you can ask the client questions in advance. So.
And it saves all of that. I don't know if you realize, but something it took me a little while to figure out was that you can have a client list. So it has all of the history of every appointment that clients ever booked, and you can put internal notes there. You can create group programs. You can take.
I haven't seen those options. I have to go back into it.
It took me a while. So I've been using Acuity for a couple of years now. And at first I really thought it was just another calendar program. It's not. It is an entire back office automation system. And it's $10, $10 a month. Yeah. It replaces an entire human being. It's amazing.
That's great. We all love those efficiency tools, don't we?
And you can create it in a way that's very personal. So but it takes time to really understand. Well, you can set up all these automations in there to where people feel really nurtured, because people don't like getting those automated messages. But when they feel like, oh, wait, this is coming from Nicole, or, oh, it seems like it's coming from Nicole. You put everything in your own voice. Ah, man, I love it.
Personalizing. Yeah, that's great. What about a book that you would recommend?
My all-time favorite is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Was
classic.
Classic. I think 1934 was the first publication, and to this day, it's just as relevant. I mean, the language is a bit dated, but everything in it is so correct. And people over and over and over and over will write books about law of attraction, but it's nothing new. And people go, oh, I just found this. Oh, I just learned the secret. And it's like, yeah, but this has been since the dawn of time. And I really like how Napoleon Hill wrote that book. And it's a big book to read, but it's a great book to study. And I like to read it annually. I'd like to go through it and really look for, what can I take away from this passage? What does this chapter mean to me? And at different stages in my life, I get different messages from it.
I like that. I think I heard on another podcast that a person was reading the same book every year on their birthday. And I thought that's such a great idea, because otherwise you kind of probably forget. But if you make it kind of this ritual every year on, birthday or whatever, Christmas, and you just keep reading the same book, I think that's a great idea. Wonderful. Yeah, I'll make sure I put the link to that in the show notes. This has been a great conversation. I can't believe we are already kind of running out of time. This has been really rich in information. Thank you so much. I always like to ask the final question, and it's kind of a mindful ending. So what are you grateful for today or this week or this month, Nicole?
Yeah, today, right now, I'm grateful for you, Sarah. I'm grateful for your audience. I'm grateful for this opportunity in this moment. And yeah, that's it. I mean, there's so much that I can be grateful for, but really just being in this moment and fully being able to share myself with you and your listeners, and the fact that they're tuning in and they're with us here right now listening. If you're listening right now, it means you've stayed with us this long and you've taken time out of your day to allow me in. And Sarah, you've taken time out. And so I always try and appreciate not just what I have, but also what people are extending to me at any given time.
It's been a great pleasure meeting you, and I hope we will meet again, Nicole. It's been really, not every conversation is the same, but some of them you just know that this is not just a one-time interview, and we will meet again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking the time, Nicole.
Thank you.
That was a great interview, right? Okay, so now I'm sure you want to know what I was referring to in the intro, and I will tell you in a second. But first, let me tell you how you can find out more about Nicole. She has two websites. One is interviews.convert.com, and the other one is businessbuildingrockstarsummit.com. And make sure to also become a member of her Facebook group. I created a short link for you so it's easier to remember. Just go to sarahsfav.com/Nicole. That's sarahsfav.com. sarahsfav.com/Nicole. Again, you'll also find this link in the show notes or in the description area of your podcast app if you're listening on a mobile device, and these links are actually clickable, so do check out that area. So here's what happened. After Nicole and I finished the recording, we just kind of chatted, and somehow I think she mentioned Toronto, and so I was like, so where are you based again? And she said, well, I'm outside of Toronto. And I said, well, I'm going to be visiting Toronto this summer because my in-laws are based in Toronto. And so we're going to spend 3 weeks there. And she's like, oh, okay. So are you going by any chance to Niagara Falls? And I said, yes. And then I mentioned that we're actually renting a cottage there. And she's like, okay, where? And I told her the little village next to the lake there. She's like, no way, that's Crystal Beach, that's where I live. Nobody ever comes to Crystal Beach, and you're gonna be like right down the street. So anyways, it was just crazy, and crazy coincidence, I guess, but sometimes I don't really think it's all just coincidence. It's just meant to be. So we have a date, August 1st, where we're gonna meet somewhere at a local coffee shop or I'm not sure what to expect. She said, bring groceries when you come to the cottage, because apparently there's no grocery store in the village. So I'm hoping there's some kind of local coffee shop at least. Anyway, so that's what happened, and that's pretty much it for this episode. You'll find the episode show notes again at sarahsenecoche.com/episode 32. And as I mentioned before, you can click on the description of your mobile device and you'll actually find all the clickable links in there. And talking about clickable links, make sure you also check out sarahsenecoche.com/retreat. I'm actually in Sicily right now, and I'm talking to vendors like the lady from the organic farm, where we will spend an afternoon cooking and then eating a delicious Sicilian meal during my retreat in May 2018. So this is the deep dive mastermind retreat for introverted online entrepreneurs. And I can't wait to meet you there. So make sure you check out sarahsenecoche.com/retreat and see what else I have planned for you that week in May. I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. I know it seems long, but time flies, and pre-excitement is half the experience. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.